Welcome to another episode of Ballatallcost podcast. And this one's titled Fit for Football. Do you know the name? I didn't a few months ago, but I certainly do now. We have a special guest on, and we have our esteemed panelist, OC. How are you doing, Josh? How are you doing, OC? Oh, we've got Deji Spurs in the building. Good timing.
Big up. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. We've just gone live. Josh, this is Deji. Deji, this is Josh.
Nice to meet you, Deji. You're a Spurs fan.
Mate, for my sins, yes.
All right. There's two of us. There's two of us in here then.
There's three of us.
There's three. Oh, perfect. Brilliant.
But we're not supposed to mention two.
It's nice to be around my people. Oh,
yeah, that's
right.
Nice to be around my people.
Yeah.
Yellow card to you both, but you didn't know, Josh. We don't mention teams because some of the other guys are a bit, you know what the other fans are like, they're a bit weird. So we don't want to mention teams too much. But Josh, welcome first and foremost, and thank you for coming on. OC said backstage, he mentioned on his Instagram post today that we're having celebs on the pod soon. And lo and behold, he said, we've got a celeb. And how did you get Josh? And I was like, I don't know. I just asked Josh a question and Josh said yes. So welcome and thank you.
No, you're more than welcome. I think, like I said to you in the message, I think what you're doing with podcasts, speaking about these issues and speaking about what's going on in grassroots football and youth football is something that I'm passionate about. So I will always be happy to speak with you guys about it and share my knowledge because, like we also said before the podcast started, nobody actually has a right answer to anything. You know, when it comes to youth football and grassroots football, it's opinion based and some opinions are welcomed and some opinions are not. So it's about spreading a message of, I always say I spread my message of honesty and positivity with the main focus of anything I do for the children, for nobody else apart from the children. It's not about my own personal clout. It's not about the success of a team I might be running. It's all for the children. And I get the vibe from you guys for doing this podcast that it's the same for you as well.
100%.
Yeah, it definitely is. We want to spread a message. We want to try and help parents, especially to help the young people in the game. And just, you know, it can be a very difficult place, especially for parents who come into this not knowing much about football in general or sports in general, but have children and want them to get involved, or the children want to get involved and they're dragging their parents over. Where do they start? Sometimes you go into environments and people will pretend to be your friend, but they're really not your friend. So if they can get a source of information from this podcast, from your platform, then brilliant. And Andy,
I just wanted to say what you're describing there is quite simply a reptile. You're describing a snake, actually. And I fully agree with you because just to say, you know, and just, you know, like Andrew and OC, it's awesome to have you take the time out to be in this space. But ultimately, we are just parents who want the best for our kids. It might lead to something, it might not. But the memory, the journey, the highs, the lows are all part of our kids developing, right? And hopefully going on to live fulfilled lifestyles. But somewhere along the way, you know, there are people who do not want to share information for whatever reason, or they don't want to see anyone else succeed. And the whole point of what you do and the whole point of what we're trying to do is say, look, it's okay.
Yeah.
You're not alone in this journey. And actually be mindful of these things. This might help along the way.
I have learned a lot in my time doing what I do now. I've been doing it since kind of 2009. So a very, very long time. And I've learned a lot about myself as a person. And I can tell you guys now, right, that and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, if I don't want to see a child develop or succeed for whatever reason, right? Personal, they might have left a team of mine and gone on to do better things. So there's an element of being bitter towards that. But if I don't want someone to do well, a child or another human for that matter, then I have to look at myself, right? And there are seriously toxic traits within me if that's the case. Now, I have applied that to all areas of my life, not just for children, but that's for other people in life, right? Like, you want to be a person in life that surely brings other people up around you and raise your energy levels and raise your energy spirit, because that's then going to be a happier place to live, rather than trying to dim someone else's light to make yours shine brighter. And I think it's more effort to be negative than it is positive, in my opinion. And that isn't something that comes easy. It's something that I've had to work on over time. But I feel that the things that we've just touched on there about, you know, wanting someone to do well in their journey, regardless of wherever it takes them, it all starts with each of us, right? Wanting the best for other people. And then that energy will then spread. But I wanted just to say that, because even with your podcast, I come on this podcast and I say to you guys, like, please don't stop this podcast. Please keep this going, because we need this. Like, the coaching space needs it. The parents need it. The children need it. You know, a child might listen to one clip of yours and it might make them stay in love with football. Yeah. You know, you really do have a voice, guys. Like, and I think it's just incredible, you know, what you're doing. I've said already in the pre-show, but I just wanted to say that to you guys.
Appreciate it, Josh. Really appreciate it. Josh, OC, you came off mute, so I know you've got something to say.
No. Just going to say amen. I agree with what you said.
Yeah. So I want to touch on something there, Josh. I haven't even asked the guys how they're doing now. I know OC's just finished coaching this week, and it's a big thing for him, and I haven't even asked him that. We're going to do the show in a roundabout way today, because I'm so excited to have Josh on, and your energy is so vibrant and it's actually contagious. So hence why I've just jumped straight into it. But you touched on something there, and you thanked us and said to us, keep going. Now, your Instagram page just popped up on my feed. Obviously, I say my feed, the Ballatallcost feed, and football related, I get it. And you seem to kind of jump out of the screen. And that's your projection, that's your vibrant nature, that's your presentation and your presence. And I think it's different to a lot of coaches doing their posts, because it's not about this kid's step over shift or your amazing drill. It's about you trying to project positivity and information to parents and to kids alike. And that is amazing. Yourself is amazing. But how did this happen? You mentioned toxic traits and you mentioned you weren't always like this. So how did this begin for Josh Paul, and how did Fit for Football come about?
I mean, going back to what I just said, I've never been someone that is obviously toxic. I don't live in that space. I would recognize that straight away. But of course, we all get days where we might see someone in a nice car and think, all right for them, you know, while we're all working. And that is toxic. That's jealousy. That's stuff. I think with me, I think when you work in the health and fitness space with regards to coaching and whatever it might be, in order to be a good coach, you have to want the best for people, right? That, like, rule one of being a good coach is wanting the best for the people that you work with, right? Because when someone comes to see me for a session, they want to be the footballer. They want to get better. It's my job to give them my energy and to help them. And there is not one part of me when I'm doing that thinks to myself, you know, I'm going to hold back a little bit now because I don't really want you to do well. That doesn't live with me. But when you live in that space so much of helping people and seeing not just academy players do well, I love the academy space. I love the fact you've got players signing to Cat 1 academies and Cat 2 and whatever else you might have in your setup with your friends and the people that you work with. That's amazing. But that goes further down as well. I get the biggest kick I get from this is seeing the 6-year-old who couldn't play football now score his first goal or score her first goal, or the lad that came to me at 10 years old who was getting bullied at school for not being very good at football finally save a shot and look at me to sell me. So I think when you go back to your question about I jump out the screen and my vibrancy and my energy. I think I'm around such goodness. I'm around pure people. Children, when they come to you, are pure. They're looking for you to help them. And I think they give me the energy I need. They give me this happiness. They give me this vibrancy because they create it when they come and see me. And I just then carry that on into other life. I just like to bring people up. I like to tell someone that they've lost weight. I like to tell someone they are looking good, or they're doing really well, or their podcast is brilliant and they must carry on with it. Because we all need a little bit of that in our life, right? We all have needs. We want to be brought up a little bit. We want to be complimented.
Yeah.
We want to be told we're doing well. So I think it's kind of come to me through doing this for so long and recognizing that you get further in life by being positive. And there are days when I don't feel like being positive. I'm not a machine. I have emotions. I have feelings. I have days where I just don't want to, coach. But I think the overriding thing of all of that is going back to my original point. I'm a coach, and my number one job before teaching someone how to do a step over, before teaching a child how to kick on their weak foot, before whatever else, my number one job is helping.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's where it starts and stops. The help I give changes for every player that I work with, every different team I go and coach. But the number one job of a coach is to be of assistance and help. And help.
Amen.
So that's who I am. And I've just become very good at being the coach, not just to the children in the football space, but in all parts of my life. I try and help rather than cause more problems.
Amazing. It really is. Really is. Go on, Dej. I know you were going to say something.
No, Josh, honestly, I've been wanting to ask this question to someone, and I think it's the perfect question for you. So look, I know, and look, the reason why we started this podcast is because in the league that we're playing in on a Sunday morning, sometimes it can feel from the opposition parents or even from the parents from your team that it is literally ball at all costs. Like it's get rich or die trying. You have to make it, and there's no ifs, buts, or maybes. And one of the things that I've noticed is the potential impact on mental health. There are a lot of kids right now who've been shouted at, who maybe are lacking in confidence. And one of the things that I've noticed is that you now provide an online mentoring program. And so the question I want to know is, what was the driver for you setting up that online mentoring program? And also, what are your thoughts around the kind of mental health and the mindset? Because you talked about the mindset, but some of these kids, for whatever reason, they are being knocked down.
Yeah.
And what should we as parents, what are the signs that we need to look out for to protect our kids from that kind of mental torment or strain?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that obviously the question's got a couple of bits to it. So I'll answer the online mentoring part after the bit about the mental health for the children. So because they lead into each other quite well. So I think first and foremost, you've got to remember that you're dealing with children. And I think that is something that we forget very quickly as coaches, because they're so talented at what they do. And they are, it's hard for me to get into the head of a parent that is telling their child to go out there and it's ball at all cost. And if you don't score this hat trick, or if you don't get goals today, then you might as well forget your dream at 8 years old. It's hard for me to get into that space because I can't really get there. Because I think there's a level of intelligence there as well, of like, that's such an unrational way to look at it. But I know it happens, and I've heard it myself from various parents, and I've seen everything you can think of. I've seen 10 times over. So I fully get it. I think something that we've got to recognize, and something that I said earlier on in the podcast as well, is this: can the coach that's working with your children speak to children like their children? Because we get very carried away when we see a 9-year-old that is really good at football, and we feel that we can all of a sudden talk to that player like they're 21 years old. And we forget that we genuinely will have pairs of socks in our drawer that are older than this child. Like we're quick to forget the car that we're driving is not as old as is older than this child. Sorry, like we're quick to forget. A child's age disappears when they step onto the football pitch for a lot of coaches, because what overrides them is their coaching mentality, the fact that they think they want the best for the child by driving them and whipping, not physically whipping them, but mentally whipping them, saying you've got to work harder. When really a lot of the time, what we're doing is we're damaging the child, and we're actually beginning to put a little bit of a sour taste on football for a child. A child shows up to play football because they love the game, because they watch their heroes every Saturday evening on Match of the Day, or at least we did when we were growing up. Now they obviously watch YouTube and they can see them. But you know, you want to be your favourite player. We've all got memories, don't we? We went and bought our favourite player's football boots, or we wore wristbands that were like our favourite player, or whatever it was, we did it because we loved the game. So my one bit of advice to every single coach watching this, and every single parent that wants their child to go on and progress and go all the way in football, whatever that might look like, please, 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 please don't forget that they're a child first and they want to play football second. Because if you start to get those two confused, you really, really begin to taint the picture of what football looks like for this child. Does football at 12 years old look like, oh, I'm just going to get shouted at for 90 minutes and all of this pressure's on me, and my dad's going to tell me I'm not good enough, or my coach is going to tell me I'm not good enough? Because is that really something that you're going to want to carry on doing for the rest of your life? Like, no, you're going to get to 14, like I've seen 1,000 times, and you're going to dislike your dad, you're going to dislike the coaches, and you're actually going to dislike football. And it's sad. And I don't have the power to change that, because life goes on and there's millions of people out there doing their own thing. But the message is clear. The child is a child. Please respect and understand that you're talking to an 8-year-old child. Certain 8-year-olds and certain 9-year-olds you can be a little bit firmer with because they're better at football, so they understand a little bit more. But you still have to make sure that whatever information you're giving to a child, you are talking to the child like they are an 8-year-old, because you don't get any victory from talking to them in any other way, because they have to appreciate, understand what you're saying. And I always say it, you can't make a child fall in love with football because they have to fall in love with football on their own. But you can make a child stay in love with football. It's your job as a coach to keep the child in love with football. That's your job as a coach, right? You've got to, they come into my session, I'm football for that child. The child's looking at me as if I represent football. So it's my duty to make sure that they leave there with smiles on their face. They do something to keep them in love with football. And that then leads on to the online mentoring space that we just spoke about. I get a lot of inquiries on Instagram about questions. So I will probably I've had 5 questions today, 6 questions a day, to give you an example. And it's from not just the UK. America is just as, use the word toxic in certain environments as what the UK. So we're not, it's not just England, it's all over the world, right? I get it from Australia, I get it from America, I get it from all over, right? And the online mentoring came about because I was getting a lot of messages, and I can't really solve a problem through an answer. I can help, you know, I can give my advice, but usually a player needs more than that. They need to be spoken to once a week, or then once every fortnight. They need to be given a list of things to get on with. So the online mentoring came through that. And it's good. It's good. You know, I've just literally before this call, I spoke to a child who lives in Atlanta. And obviously I'm not going to name the child or name any of the teams, but they live in Atlanta. And, you know, the situation going on over there is crazy. Like, and it's actually funny because the coach that's giving the child a bit of a problem is actually English. he's moved over to America to set up his own soccer academy or whatever.
Right.
And the kids there, and this coach is like apparently getting them to do laps and not making his own child do any of the punishments, but making all the other children do the punishments. And that kind of environment is what's being created. So they're the problems that I'm dealing with, or they're at least the conversations that I'm having. But yeah, the online mentoring is great because I can give the player a bit more control. I find that a football player, when they're young, they can often feel like they're losing control of their journey because of so much noise. You know, like the coach doesn't like me, the players don't like me. Okay, well, that means football is over for me then. That means my journey's over. And really, it doesn't, does it? Like, you know, we move on, we try new things, we change teams, we change positions. And it's just me allowing myself to have a voice to these players on a one-to-one level.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because, you know, just listening to you as well, I feel like the work that you're doing is so needed, and it just helps to kind of remind us of why we're doing this. Do you get what I'm saying? Because what happens is you get into this, or some people fall into it, some people just get into it, and then we allow ourselves to be consumed by it. How many of us, I think I talk grassroots football more than I do talk about professional game. In fact, I'd go as far as to say I pretty much enjoy the grassroots game on and off the pitch more than I do the real thing, because you're talking about parents, you're talking about whether boys or girls are going to get selected into this team. You're talking about who's Andrew recruited for his mighty team.
Why are we going there? Why are we going there?
All of those things that are taking place, and it just quite quickly consumes your world. But actually, you just need to take a step back and say, actually, the most important thing here is my child enjoying this? And I think we need those constant reminders, because I don't know how many people listening to this podcast have asked themselves the question, has my child enjoyed football these last couple of weeks or the last couple of months? All I'm saying is it's tournament season. Yeah, that's an opportunity for you to stand there with your sunglasses on, lick an ice cream while you watch your child running in that bloody heat. Do you know what I mean? Like, honestly, who's having the fun?
And it's only getting worse. You know, it's only growing because social media is growing, right? So, like, every child's now getting an Instagram account, which I don't have a problem with. I think the Instagram account for children, as long as it's run by a parent, is a really cool thing because you get lots of video footage, you get lots of photos. You know, I have very few photos and videos of me in the 90s and the early 2000s when I was playing football. So I do think social media is a good thing. Right? People always say social media is a negative. I think it's a good thing if it's used properly. The problem that we're starting to see is, as you can all see, I'm sure you have, I've got lots of accounts on Instagram, as in like, I see a lot of things from up and down the country. And a lot of it is point scoring, right? It's like stories getting posted from a child's account being like, it's just silly stuff like, am I good enough now? ? With a new kit on for a new team, and that's clearly a bite to get at the ex-manager. And these kids don't realise this. Like, I spoke to a kid the other day that didn't even know he had an Instagram, and his parent runs it. So I feel that we're getting to a point now where if it wasn't already bad enough with he said this, she said that, my son's too good for this team, my daughter's too good. We're now getting to a point where we can then hang our dirty laundry out in public on Instagram. And we can, great training session tonight, like big ? Who am I moving to next? As if
Josh.
Like 9 years old. Like, and it's
we needed you on for that pod, Josh. We did an Instagram podcast a few weeks back. We needed you on for that. So I'm totally, I know OC's taken yourself off mute, so I'm coming to you in a second, OC. I'm totally with you with regards to Instagram. I was against it initially because I saw a lot of that stuff, a lot of the point scoring, a lot of the vicarious living still on the pitch, and now
that's
in Instagram.
Great word, Andrew. Vicarious living is the one, isn't it? That's
I think so. And I was going to jump in when Deji was speaking, because I know Deji isn't living vicariously, but you still get caught up in it depending
well, you guys
on the
are running a
environment.
podcast about how to overcome this, so none of you are living vicariously. You might have your moments where you're proud of your son or your daughter, of course, but living through your child is a whole nother thing. Right?
Yeah. But your point on documentation, and I touched on this with going back to my daughter with her Snapchat, and I said it on the previous pod, but in case any listeners haven't heard that podcast yet, you should go and listen to it, by the way. Yeah. But I said these tools of social media do have like real benefits, because on her Snapchat, she used to document everything. Every time we used to have a birthday party or just a birthday celebration for one of her siblings, and I'll be like, put the camera away. Fast forward 4 or 5 years, and it will be like, Dad, look what we were doing this time last year, or he's doing the same thing. And I thought, you know what? It's all there, ranked and filed, and they give you the tools to present it again a year later or 6 months later, package it up nicely and say, there you go, rather than you going through your gallery and trying to do that. So they are great tools if used correctly.
I will often go on TikTok and watch a lot of my stuff that I talk about comes through motivational speakers talking about life. I like to read. I like to, as you can probably tell, things behind me on my wall are like goals and targets I want out of my life. I'm very much on that path, and I'm taking kids along with me, because I think we can all do with writing goals down. I think we can all do with trying to improve ourselves. So I think when you get your social media algorithm right and you're watching the right things, I mean, there's a fountain of knowledge out there. Quotes, the way to look at life, how to get, how to sleep better, how to eat better. We social media can be a really good tool, but like anything, if used in the wrong way, it can also be really not very good. It can also be detrimental to anyone. So I totally get that. There's two sides to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Enjoying this conversation, I think that we've touched on it a few times, but the grassroots scene at the moment, academy scene, is quite murky. So you've got coaches out there, and I'm not denying that they're good coaches, but I think the journey that you've been on, which I'd like to hear more about, I'll ask the question in a second, but the journey that you've been on, it hasn't been about you. So the following that you've got, Josh, the passion that you deliver with, is solely down to wanting to help people. And I think that there's a lot of people in the game right now that don't share that same drive, which is a shame.
Yeah. I think your true colours will always come out, right? So, like, I think whatever you do in life, whatever you're doing, if you're not leading with the right intention, then it will always come out eventually. It might not come out straight away. You might get away with it for a couple of years, but someone will recognize a trait in you, and that will get spread. And then all of a sudden, your real characters come out. Like, you might say you're in it for development, then you get to a semi-cup final, and then you start to only play the stronger players, and then you're not in it for development, are you? So your true colours are coming out. Now, with Fit for Football, when I created the Instagram account back in lockdown, back in 2020, I set myself a very clear goal for my personal growth as well. And the goal was to post once a day from this account something that can help people. If you go right through the posts, I never forget one of the first ones I ever made back in like 2020 or whenever it was. It was, what does Ronaldo eat for breakfast? That was it. It was like, it was really badly done. It wasn't a video. It was a picture of like what he ate for breakfast. And I just went on Google and I got a photo of him eating a salad, a photo of him drinking a smoothie. And I put the post together. It took me about 20 minutes and I posted it. It got like 2 likes or whatever it did. But I always knew, right, that if I carried on, it would turn into something bigger. But I had to carry on with it, because you can't just start a podcast. You can't just start an Instagram and expect to help people straight away. You've got to carry on consistently delivering helpful information. And the root of that Instagram is exactly what it says in the title of this podcast, Fit for Football. That's mental fitness. That's physical fitness. That's nutritional fitness. That's social fitness. That's every element of fitness you can imagine. Not just how far you can run, the whole lot. Because really and truly, we're helping the next generation that we know 1 out of the 1,000 children that we coach may be seen on TV in 10 years' time playing for Man United. We know they're the odds or whatever. But what about the other 999 children that you coach? Can they be more confident when they go for their first job interview? Can they stand up to someone taking the mickey out of their new haircut at school because they've learned to back themselves and learn to stick up for themselves? Can they put their arm around their classmate who might be getting upset in class because they don't understand one of the questions? You know, can they advise their parents on not eating so many sweets at the weekend because they watched one of my reels about why they're not good for you? Like, there's so much more to this, what we do with children, than just, like you said at the start of this, the step over into the Iniesta, into the V-cut, into the like my page. I never wanted to just be about football. I've often actually thought about taking football out of the title and just helping these children develop life skills. But it all comes through football. So I'm not going to change it. But
I was going to say nobody would watch it in the manner in which they watch it with football in the title. Just saying, you could easily do that, because I've looked through your page and I've been waiting for the step over shift and I haven't seen it. Yeah. And I just thought, this guy is genuine, and that's why I wanted to get you on. But I don't want to jump in. I know OC's got a question. I know Deji's got a question. So I'm going to hand over to them.
Yeah, so I think we've heard a lot about the passion and the why. But I just wanted to hear a little bit more about, why it started. Was it something that you saw within your development as you were coming up through the game? Like, just to hear a little bit more about, I suppose, the question that Andrew asked at the top of the show, like, where did it start for you? Like, what was your journey like coming up? Were there gaps that you didn't have within your journey? And are there things that you thought, yeah, I want to add that value, I want to sort of give that to the game?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in the mid-2000s. I'm similar age to you guys. I'm 34, so I don't know how old you guys are, but
similar.
I'm younger than you.
Oh,
I'm joking. I'm not.
So
I'll be bold and tell you that I'm 27.
I grew up in an era where we didn't really have access to YouTube. We didn't really have access to Instagram. It wasn't a thing. It was like, you know, there might be the odd DVD on football skills, and that was it. We were then just kind of navigating ourselves. I really, really could have done with someone like me when I was growing up, right? So a big driver for everything I do now is remembering who I was. The beauty of all of this, boys, the beautiful thing about the whole thing that I do is I was really not that good at football. So I always knew what it felt like to be the one that got left on the bench, to be the one that had the name was. I never forget looking at the school team sheet when we had a cup game coming up and everyone would crowd round to see who was on it. And I was never, you know, I got on it eventually, but I wasn't. So I've really felt the pain of not being one of the top players. I grew, I got better. You know, I made my way in football. I did all right. I played at quite a high level. I'd never played for an academy, but I did like local academy stuff, like Cat 3 stuff towards the end of my journey. When I was 14, I played for Woking for a little bit, and I played for Walton and Hersham. So I did all right. But what I'm saying is I felt what it was like to not be great at football. And I used to suffer with nerves. I didn't really know what to eat. I didn't really know what workouts. I wanted to go and do running in my garden, but no one was there to help me. I didn't know what to do. It was like 2003. I just didn't know what to do. I had a goal and a ball. So I think you should always in life you should always kind of fix your own pain points and help others in the process, right? So a lot of what I do is kind of talking to me when I was younger. I could have done with 3 tips on how to be more confident, how to not be nervous before a match. And you'd be surprised. We spoke earlier about the one player out of the 1,000 that will go on to make it. But my page and what I do and who I speak to, I'm speaking to the other 999 players, right? So the voice that I'm giving is for the ones that need the help, because not everyone needs help. Like in they don't all need to know about how to not be nervous, but there are so many children out there that suffer with nerves and confidence issues. So how it all came about, in answer to your question, OC, was through my own personal journey of actually not being very good at football, of actually being the guy that needed help when he was growing up. And now that's what really drives me to keep creating content, to keep booking the videographer who costs money and all of this stuff. But I know that if there's one child on the way to a football match who comes across my video and I tell him to make sure that he keeps things simple for the first half in order to build his confidence, and he does that, he goes on to have a great game, he goes home and gets into bed that night and he's happy, or she's happy, whoever it might be, I'm okay. Like, that's my job done. Like, the beautiful thing about this whole thing that we're doing with your podcast and with my page and with all the other great help that's going on out there is we have we genuinely can affect someone's life through a phone screen. Genuinely.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Such a positive way. We can have that effect, and we couldn't years ago. It wasn't a thing. I was told I was not, I used to get all the usual stick from players. You're not good enough. This I could have done with coming home and putting on my phone and seeing what someone like me had to say. Coach Andrew or Coach OC or Coach Deji. What have they got to tell me today? It might be about how to prepare for a match. It might be about what food to eat. But I can hear from a coach through a phone. So that's the journey in a nutshell. Yeah, no academy really, never played at a high level, never made it pro. Could have done with this help back in 2003, and that's enough to keep. That's my superpower. My superpower is that I actually wasn't very good at football, and I needed me back then. So that's what really keeps me going.
I was going to say,
need you now.
We need you now. I got chills down the back of my spine when you were speaking, like down the back of my neck. For me, you're a messenger, right? And you had to go through some struggle. You had to go through adversity. You experienced some pain in order to deliver your message with the passion that you do today and become this messenger. You had to experience it. So that happened for a reason, is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
And like Deji said, we need you now. And I know Deji's got a question, so I'm going to come off mute. Go back on mute. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go on, Deji.
A great question there, man. So big up to you, bro. I guess for me, it was you were touching on the fitness stuff. I see that on your page. You talked about, nutrition. You talked about, maybe strength and conditioning. You talked about these things. And I guess one of the things that gets a lot of parents, I'm looking at OC in the eyes here, and Andrew, is that, are we doing things too quickly? So my question for you is, how important are these things, the nutrition, the strength and conditioning, these other things, the regular training sessions, from your perspective? And, is it something we should be doing now? My son is 10, for example. When do you think is the right age to be doing it? If you think it's the right thing for us to be doing, or is it?
Great. It's a great question. I mean, look, I say this every time someone asks me about this. Is the question that you ask your child, have you all asked your child the question, right? The question is very simple. Do you want to be a professional footballer? That's the question you ask your child. Now, if your child looks back at you in the eye and says to you, yes, that is them agreeing to put themselves through the journey that you have got to put yourself through in order to become a professional football player. You can't. I'm in love with professional footballers, as in I think they deserve every penny they make. I think that they are national treasures. I think they've put themselves through so much pain and sacrifice to get to where they are that they deserve the world. I think professional football players are just specimens of greatness because they've done so much to become what they are. Now,
professional athletes as a whole.
Yeah. Oh,
Suad,
thanks,
yeah.
Andrew. 100%, completely. I couldn't agree with you more. Sorry, not just footballers, but anyone that is a master of their craft. It's only fair that if your child gives you the answer of yes, that you put them through what they need to go through. Now, if your child turns around, and the problem is that we've got is two. The first problem is a lot of children are like, yeah, I guess so. The dad or the mum thinks, right, you're in, right, let's do this. That means yes. I would ask my child once a month. I would look them after having a bad game as well. I'll do it after a negative experience, and I'd say, "You still want to be a footballer?" If they tell me yes, it's my duty as their parent to help them with that, right? So what does that look like? Okay, well, the first thing that it looks like is you have a duty as a parent to create the environment that is required in order for your child to grow and prosper in the footballing space. What does that look like? Okay, so the nutrition, yes, you do have to get into good nutrition. Firstly, because it creates good habits within the player because really and truly, as a footballer, you're going to be eating the same things for your whole life. Salmon, chicken, greens, rice, pasta. It doesn't change. It doesn't get more exciting. You can't experiment with food as a footballer. You have 20 foods that you have to eat in order to give your body what it needs and keep developing. So the first things first, the nutrition side, yes. As a 10-year-old, you stock your fridges up with what your child needs to develop as a footballer. You create the habits. You allow them to understand the value in drinking lots of water, in sleep, in rest, in recovery. And the second bit is a training schedule. Hi there. Deji, what's your son's name called?
What's his name?
Yeah.
Angelo.
Angelo.
Yeah.
That's a great name. Right. So his name is Angelo. You say Angelo? Right. Let's sit down and let's put together a training schedule. Okay, Dad, that's cool. Cool. So Monday, what do we do? Okay, we do an hour in the garden of left foot, right foot, dribbling, whatever it might be. Tuesday, we got team training with your team. Wednesday, strength and conditioning is cool. I think I've said this in previous podcasts. I think strength and conditioning is a little bit of an overused term to get people to come and pay money. Like, what's strength and conditioning? Well, you shouldn't really be lifting weights as a child. You shouldn't. It's body weight stuff. So it's some core work, the plank, whatever it might be, ball touch. There's loads. But Wednesday is the day you work on the core of the body. Thursday is a day they go on a 5K run. Friday, they go to a group session at like Goals in Tottenham or Goals in wherever near where you live in Essex, wherever it might be. They go to like a group session with other good players. There's lots of them around. But Angelo, I need for you to agree to this. Yeah, Dad, I agree to it. Okay, cool. So that day when Angelo is on Fortnite or on FIFA and doesn't want to go out and train is the day you rip up the contract and say, okay, we're just doing this for fun then. Because the child, you start the child on the journey. And when they want to get off the roller coaster, they're okay to get off. But you will never make it as a professional football player if you are not prepared to do the hard yards for 15 years or 12 years. And it just comes down to how much the player wants it. What do I see as a coach? I see them loving it up until the age of 12. The minute they start to find out about girls, going to the bowling alley, going to the cinema, going to their mates for a sleepover and it being cool to not sleep, like that's when you've got problems. That's why I say to people, don't show me the best 10-year-old. I'm not interested in your kid who's a whiz kid. I don't care. Show me the 16-year-old that's still doing 7 days of training a week and still wants it, because that's the interesting one, the 16-year-old. The 10-year-old, everyone loves football when they're 10. Like, everyone wants to be a footballer. Cool. Like, like, great. But so going back to your question, I know I've gone round it in quite a long way, but I'm quite passionate about that. nutrition, yes, it's your duty as a parent to supply that and to help them. Training schedule, yeah, there's 9 hours of training there. You've told me you want to be a footballer. That's what you need to do. I can't pay money for you to be a footballer. You have to do the work. I can't be bothered. This isn't gonna work then. Like, let's just stop and let's actually enjoy father-son time together. Because what I see is a lot of parents, they push for an extra year or two. The kid don't want it, but they're still pushing them. Not gonna work. It's not gonna work. So that's my advice on what you've just asked.
Can I play devil's advocate quickly? Sorry, just with that statement. So you touched on, as a parent, you are going to help your child create, I can't remember the terminology you use. You're going to create the environment so they can succeed, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to help them do that training schedule, fulfill it. Now, if that were, I want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
So now, son, you need to make sure your English is on point, your maths is on point. We need to get you doing 11 plus. So we're going to get 11 plus tutoring.
Yeah.
And we create the same schedule. And then your son's on Fortnite. And do you rip up that contract, or is it different because it's academic education as opposed to footballing education?
I think that's an amazing question, and it's a really, really good question. Big difference between becoming a professional athlete and becoming a lawyer or a doctor or a accountant or whatever it might be, because I've actually spoken about this in the past, is if you want to become a doctor, there's a clear route to becoming a doctor, and you actually get lots of leeway with that, right? Like, I don't know the route to become a doctor, but say it looked like this, right? So say it meant, I can only imagine you would have to get really good GCSEs to then go to a really good sixth form, to then get good grades to go to a really good university. And then from going to a really good university, you go to doctor's school, and then you pass some exams, do some experience as a doctor, and then you start becoming a doctor. Do you guys agree with me that that is pretty much the way, right?
Yeah,
so let's look back to the Fortnite bit, or the FIFA bit. The time spent where the child is like, I don't really want this. I can't be bothered to do my studying. I'm going to play Fortnite. Okay, so just to let you know, child, you need to pass this exam in order to move to the next level on your progression of becoming a doctor, because you can't get lucky at becoming a doctor. Someone's not just going to notice you on the street resuscitating someone and be like, let's make you a doctor. The journey of a footballer or an athlete, a professional athlete, is very different. You might get very few chances at getting a trial. You might get very few chances. You can't take an exam to become a football player. There's no school you go to become a football player. There's no university course that you can jump on to become a football player. And it's actually funny you say that. Being a professional athlete is probably the only career in the world where you actually have to build disciplines within yourself from a young age in order to be successful at becoming an athlete. And if you miss any part of it, you will actually undo the whole operation and it will all fall to pieces. Because how many doctors have you met that told you in their first year at university, they just went out every night and got pissed?
Yeah, because I can't do that.
I can name you loads of them.
Yeah.
So great question, but I don't think that anything is comparable with becoming a professional athlete. And I love the fact that you've pulled me up on about not just a footballer, because I read books about tennis players, golfers, cricket players, gymnasts.
Yeah, 10,000 hours is 10,000 hours, right?
It's the same thing, and it isn't just the hours. It's the still wanting to do it, even when it's cold, even when it's raining. It's character building. It's everything. So yeah, I feel that it's the parents' duty to push them, but it's not the parents' duty to do it for them. And that's where we get a little bit of a crossfire with some of the parents that we've spoken about, where they're kind of like, I can do this for my son. I can do the Instagram, and I can do this, and not going to work. It's not a thing, right? It comes down to the 10-year-old.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
I love that point about obviously what that journey will look like, and the dedication, the strategy, and the focus that is required to try and achieve that difficult point of actually making it within a game. A couple of questions that I've got is, what are your thoughts on parents and the game outsourcing a lot of the development to coaches? Because you mentioned training 7 days a week, and there's a part of me that's like, maybe that's a little bit too much, but I think it's a lot if you are driving your kid to go and see to 3 group sessions, a strength and conditioning coach, 2 one-to-one coaches throughout the week. If you're in the garden doing a little bit of plyometric work, doing a bit of or going down the park in the 5K, I think that is all manageable, because we all used to play football every single day. But the question is, do you think that the development is outsourced too much? I know you're a coach. I don't want to take business away from you, but
No, I'm listening.
do you think it's outsourced? And secondly, do you think that parents need to do more to be a part of that journey? As in, do they also need to be fit? Do they also need to be disciplined? Do they also need to demonstrate and role model what they're trying to get their kids to be?
Yeah, I think. Look, first things first. If your child wants to be a football player, as a parent, you're locked in as well, right? You are. You need to be the taxi. You need to be the nutrition. You need to be the provider of food. Then it gets to the bridge that we've just spoken about there. The bridge is full of dragons. It's full of fire. It's full of swords. And the dragons are the people that are holding the contracts, saying, oh, come and sign for my development centre and pay me £100 a month, and for that I'll help your child become a football player. Then you've got the one-to-one coaches that say that they're also scouts with professional football with professional football teams and bits like that. So what you've then got is you've got the parent. Actually, I feel sorry for a lot of parents, and I actually answer a lot of parents' questions. I actually answer a lot of parents' questions about, like, whether that something's a scam or whether someone is just leading them up the garden path, because football's a big business. There's going to be a lot of crooks, right? There's going to be a lot of people that are not leading with good intentions. We go back to our intentions again. The intentions of this podcast are leading with good intentions. The intentions with us on this till 11 o'clock tonight is delivering information to help. We're giving up our time to help. But there's a lot of people that aren't on that journey. And I've met lots of them. And their intentions are, well, I've been doing this for so long now, I'm going to make money from it, and you're going to pay me, and I'm going to coach your kid, and da-da-da. So don't taint the relationship that you have with your child by becoming their coach. That's number one. A lot of my people that I coach, they bring their children to me because they don't want to ruin the relationship of father and son, or mother and son, or mother and daughter, because you can't be a coach and be a parent. It can get very difficult. And I know grassroots teams suffer with it. You can't give your child, manager's player because it looks biased and da-da-da-da-da. So there's that as well. But the driving your child to one-to-ones, the driving your child to group sessions is necessary, but it isn't like do that or the child doesn't make it. What you have to do as parents is create a structure that your child can do. We, as coaches, we're there to solve a problem. Well, I don't want to stand in the garden with my son in the rain, rolling balls to him and helping him. Okay, well, bring your child to us and we'll do that for you. Yes, I know a little bit more than most parents, but you guys are a bit different. You come from football backgrounds. You know about the game. So you can be in a park with your child. So I think it comes down to individual, what's the word I'm looking for? Individual circumstance, right? Like, I've got a child that comes to me whose dad is an ex-football player. Like, his dad knows more about professional sport than I do, but he brings him to me for 3 hours a week because he's his dad and he doesn't want to taint that relationship and he doesn't want to commit his time to coaching his son. So in answer to your question, the prime hours that I would say to train a week are 7 to 10 hours. However that looks, I don't know. And that is including match time as well. That's including matches, which are an hour or 70 minutes. And it's about what works. You know, if I was going to create the perfect training schedule, you would have a rest day. Yes, a rest day would be in there. Maybe a Sunday or a Monday would be the rest day. And then I would have an hour of fitness on a Tuesday, an hour of ball mastery on a Wednesday, an hour of plyometrics and shooting on the Thursday, whatever it might look like. We'll get to 7 to 10 hours. But you have to make sure that you are sticking to those 7 to 10 hours for 52 weeks of the year, or 50 weeks of the year if you take a 2-week holiday, whatever that might look like. That's the hard bit. That's the difficult bit, because there are people that do it for 6 months and then never do it again. And they're like, well, we didn't make it in 6 months as football players, so we just stop. It's like, no, this is like such a marathon. You've got no idea. It's such a long process.
Wow. And do you have like a, I don't know, I'm going to use the word lead magnet just because I know about digital marketing, but I almost feel like you need to have like an infographic that you can just put out there to parents about that little bit of structure, because on my journey in the game, there's a lot of parents that I've been involved with where they're like, oh, yeah, my kid's just not doing it, or he's falling off, or he used to be here and now he's not here. But I'm like, what have you done to set that structure that's going to allow your kid to enjoy it and also develop? And I just think that's a state of flux that parents are in, that really is impacting their kids' happiness and their happiness also at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know a percentage, but I would imagine there's a high percentage of people that are locked into this, and the end goal has been very tainted because they're kind of just swallowed up in it. Like we spoke about in the podcast earlier on, like we can get so swallowed up in what's going on. And that comes down to our own life as well. Like, how many people are working jobs that they probably don't even want to be in because they haven't had that time to step back from the job, just to pause the money for a second that might be paying their mortgage and actually just look at the whole thing and think, do I really want to be doing this? And it's the same with football. Like, you've been doing it for 6 years, son, so we're going to keep doing it. Even though you're not happy and I'm not happy, we're just not going to have that conversation because we're going to keep going, because you might want to be a football player and I want to just keep doing this because we've come, I hate that one, we've come so far on the journey. It's like you've come so far on a journey to a road that you don't want to be on. So who is this? And that goes back to my question. The question that you ask your child once a month. You say to them, you look at them and you say, look, do you want to be a football player? And you will even know from their response whether they want it, even when they don't want it. They might be like, yeah. You can tell. They need to look you in the eye and say, yes, that's the energy you want. Yes. Like, I want this so much. And that question could save you thousands of hours and thousands of pounds. But you just don't want to ask it because you're probably too scared to see the outcome.
Yeah. Josh, this is amazing. Can I just say, we've gone an hour and we haven't even touched on the agenda. I haven't even asked you guys how you're doing. We haven't touched on the agenda and we've done an hour. So guys, I always like to let the listeners behind the curtain a little bit, because we do try and plan, but a genuine conversation with like-minded people is just a genuine conversation, right? And that's what this is. I wanted to ask Josh a specific question about one of his videos. I know he wanted to speak about a few of his videos, but Josh, I'm going to ask you a question now, and this is our contract. If we wrap up with one more question, because I know it will push for time, will you come back on so we can actually achieve that agenda?
Yeah, of course.
Perfect then.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. No worries at all.
Well, Deji's got a question for you, and I'm going to warn you. Deji usually has a 6-part question in one, right? So I'm hoping it's a 1-part question, and then we can wrap and get you back on again.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, no, thank you, Andrew, and thank you for reminding me, because if not, I would have given Josh 10 questions in one to kind of remember. Josh, I think this is for a lot of our viewers who are kind of going through this space at the moment. So we have situations up and down the Echo League where parents are having to toil with a big decision. The decision being the league position, how high their child is playing at, or maybe taking a step lower, but knowing that they could get good coaching. Now, believe it or not, it's causing dilemmas, because on one hand, you know that coach is good, but the league that they're going to put you in is so low that you're thinking, is my child really going to learn anything off that? As opposed to,
Or be noticed. I'm just putting it out there.
I will be noticed as well. As opposed to, you know what, top league, maybe training is not as good, but they will, it's tougher. They will compete and more likely to get noticed. Your thoughts?
I always, again, have to put myself out of coach mode and into parent mode. It's quite difficult for me because I actually don't have children. So it's hard. I've had lots of conversations with parents and they've said to me, yeah, but it's not your child. And I can only begin to understand the tiny amount, the change when it's your own child with this stuff, right? And I am quite compassionate, and I can kind of get into that space. But there are things that just you don't need to have a child to understand and to know about. And it comes with experience, and it comes with years of working in a similar situation where I am in Slough, where you've got the local league and then you've got another league. And it's like the local league is a really good coach, really good standards, but the players aren't great and it's a lower league. Or you've got that league where the players are great and the facilities are great, but the coach maybe isn't so great. So I get that. I would always recommend that as a parent, you take your own views on it and don't really allow the child to make too much of a decision on adult things. And what those adult things look like are, is the coach doing it to help the children, or are they doing it to feed their ego about having the best team in the Echo League or being the best team in Essex or whatever it is? Because you do not want your child, if you're listening to this and you're a parent, even if it gets one person this resonates with, you do not want your child to be part of somebody else's plan. Okay, listen to that again. You don't want your child to be a part of somebody else's plan, because that child can be easily replaced if they don't fit the plan of the coach. As you get older, as money starts to come into it, as we talk about professional football in 10 years' time, you are only part of someone's plan because you have a contract with that football club and you're getting paid to be part of their plan. right? But at a youth level, the word here is development. At a development level, yeah, you ain't part of someone's plan. They are part of your plan. That coach is there to help your son or your daughter take things to the next level. That coach is there to inspire your child. So as parents, be very selfish about the coach. Does the coach resonate with you? Does the coach attract you? Do you like how the coach turns up on time? Is the coach setting good standards? Does the coach care about his or her players? They're the questions you want to ask yourself. Always at youth football, go with the coach that you feel is going to develop your child the most, not the team. Always ends up with egg on your face if you go with the team and not the coach.
Thank you so much, Josh. That was a mic drop for me. It's a question that it's been toiling with people that I know, people going through it as they're looking to select teams or join teams. And for me, common sense in a way must prevail on this. It's about the development. It's about what the coach can do to your child, more so than being in a fancy team. And I know it's tough to hear, but if in 2 years' time your child is going to reach their full potential, then it was a sacrifice worth making, if that's how you see it, or it was just a bloody wise decision. I don't care what side of the fence you sit on. Do you know what I mean?
And you would think that an adult that pays a mortgage, that has a job, that is an adult, can see that. But there are things, aren't there, called football blinkers. And when the football blinkers are on, you're not an adult. That's why you argue with other parents. That's why you shout at your kid on the way home. You know better than to speak to a 9-year-old like that. But when the football blinkers are on and this streak comes out in you that I've seen in so many parents that have come from their thousands of pounds like jobs where they have to be level-headed, but the minute their child's football comes in, they turn into this other person. When those football blinkers are on, you turn into someone else. I always say you kind of get into the weeds with everyone else, regardless of where you are in your own life. The minute you get to football, you get dragged into it, don't you? You're like,
white line fever. That white line fever.
I mean, to give you an example, where I live, near where I live is a team. I'm not going to name the team because I know we don't do that on this, and I wouldn't want to. But there's a team, and they have genuinely, like, because it's in quite a rich area near London. A lot of the grassroots parents are like famous people that you would know, and they like they're on TV and they're in the group chat on WhatsApp, and they are like, oh my God, that's so and so from that TV show, or that's the actor from that film. Like, they live near where this team are, and even they get dragged into it. Like, my mate was telling me, he's a coach, and of course I'm not going to name any names. He's like, mate, you never guess this guy that was on this program, mate, he started kicking off that his son didn't get enough match time. And it's like, whoa, like, he was like in my favorite boy band when I was growing up, and he's now a dad. So everyone can get sucked into the pit of snakes, can't they? Like, so yeah, don't let your football blinkers spoil what reality is. You wouldn't let your kid go to school with a school teacher that smoked at the desk and laughed at kids that fell over and that hit kids. Or I'm not saying they would hit, but you don't care so much because it's a school and it's not football. Whereas when it's football, it's all of a sudden like, oh, if it's a good team, then you must go with this guy, even if he does turn up late, even if he does cancel training, you go with him because they're the best team.
Yeah, there is the football blinkers is a good way to look at it, because you, as a parent, you can actually lose yourself in it. You can accept things. I think that's what you're saying, Josh. Accept things in other walks of life you wouldn't accept, you wouldn't tolerate, especially for your pride and joy, which is your child. Coaches swearing and shouting. I get it. I get it. But Josh, sorry to cut you. We are at 1 hour and 10 minutes, and we have been running long. But I appreciate the time and appreciate you are a guest, and you've got a video to make tomorrow morning. You've probably got a plan and prepared to make that video. So, Josh, I just want you to share your Instagram and all your handles for our listeners. Where can we find you? If those who haven't seen your videos, how can they see you?
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. So it's at fit_4_football, and that's on Instagram and TikTok, and then on YouTube it's just at Fit for Football World. Brilliant. And that's where I am. But thank you for having me on, guys, and we'll definitely get another one in. Let's do it again in a couple of weeks.
For sure, because I still got questions. OC's got questions. I know Deji's always got about 10-part questions.
I can't help it. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Because I know how they come, they flow, and you think, oh, that one fits with that one. Brilliant. And last question for you. This is a quick fire one, hopefully. And before you answer this, you've got to help make it happen if you can. So, yeah. Given who you are and what you're trying to achieve, given who we are and what we're trying to achieve, which are mostly aligned, is there a guest we haven't had on that you think we should have on? And before you answer it, you've got to help us get them on. That was the second part to it.
Okay. Is there a guest that you haven't had on that I think you should have on and that I can help you get on?
Deji style question, yeah.
I think there is. I don't know who you've had on.
Well, I'll tell you what you're going to do. You can do your research, and when you come back on, you can give us that answer.
Yeah, no, I will do. I don't want to rush that one. There are many coaches that follow a similar path to me that I think would be able to share more knowledge and more experience. So yeah, for sure, I can definitely help you with guests, for sure. I'll definitely think of someone.
Perfect. Well, listeners, if you've enjoyed this show, you know what we ask you to do every week, and you've been doing it. The subscribers have been growing, and we appreciate every single one of you. New Zealand, Australia, I see you. We see you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Obviously, Great Britain, we know you're here. So, guys, like, subscribe, hit the notification. Josh could probably do this better than me. His following is immense. He does this thing. We're on Instagram as well. Ballatallcost on every platform. So, guys, if you've liked what you've heard, tell a friend to tell a friend. We know you are true to this. So, introduce somebody who might be new to this. We are Ballatallcost. He is Josh Paul, Fit for Football, and we are saying good night.
Good night.